Miracle Mavens, we're live. We are live. Hey, it's Al. I'm excited. I am beyond excited. I see you all chiming in the comments. For those of you that are here live in the live chat, and people are, you folks are chiming in from the UK, from Toronto, Canada, from Madison, Wisconsin, Colleen Garcia from Chicago, Paul from New Hampshire, Linda from California, Thrift Swift, if that's your real name, from Denver. Excited to have all of you here. Welcome to the Miracle Equation live training number 6 of 6. And we've made it this far, and we're going to close this thing out with a bang. I'm very excited for a lot of reasons. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a peek behind the curtain into my life right now before we get started, so you understand where I'm coming from, the space that I'm in as I connect with you today. In short, I'll tell you that I feel like I'm channeling a higher power. I'm not thinking about what I'm saying right now. It's just coming through me. It might sound weird. In fact, I hope we get a little weird today. I'm in Austin. I live in Austin, Texas. And if you don't know about Austin, the city's theme is, I think it's keep it weird, right? Keep it weird. So welcome to week 6 of the Miracle Equation live training. As promised, today we're going to answer your most universal questions. But as I was prepping for today's training, I decided to go over and above and develop a little bit of new training for you, which you may have seen in the email or the Facebook post for today. But it is the Miracle Life. And love yourself as you are, see yourself as you can be, and create the most extraordinary life that you can imagine. And that is what the Miracle Life is all about. I've mentioned this a few times to you, that the Miracle Life is kind of where I'm headed in terms of the next book that I'm planning on writing. It'll probably be a year or two. I mean, we're a ways off from that, but I didn't want you to wait a year or two to get this content and this training on the Miracle Life. So as it's developing, I'm going to share what I've outlined so far with you, and what I've experienced and what I'm experiencing in my own life that I can pay forward and share with you. Real quick, if you can hear me, please put in the chat box yes, or we can hear you, or something. I usually do it first, but I just realized making sure that you guys can hear. All right, somebody said keeping it weird. So I'm guessing that you can hear me. All right, we got some yeses. Eileen, thank you. Marcia, thank you. Leanne, thank you. Curtis, wow, we got like 1,000 yeses. Awesome, thank you. First and foremost, here's a quick rundown of what's going on in my life right now. Number one, you may have seen on social media, my eye, right? I was playing basketball on Saturday with John Vroman, and my good friend John, and he accidentally headbutted me, or we headbutted each other. His head is much harder than my eyebrow, and I started gushing blood on Saturday, and I had to run to the emergency room. John drove me, and then I got 6 stitches in my eye, which is never fun, getting needles in your eye, and yeah, it's never fun in the eye. So that was Saturday. Sunday was actually one of the most profound days in my entire life. All right, I'll say that again. Sunday, the day after this happened, was one of the most profound days in my entire life. I turn 40 tomorrow. Tomorrow is my 40th birthday. And on Sunday, I was recovering from chemotherapy. Yeah, actually right now, everybody, I am on a cocktail of chemotherapy drugs, steroids, not the kind that make you buff, but the kind that boosts your immune system, and antibiotics. So my stomach's not feeling too good. So I'm on a real, not a fun cocktail right now. I started the cocktail on Friday. I went and got an IV of chemo, right, in my vein. And then Sunday is the day where typically a couple days after, I'm in bed all day exhausted. And I decided to take Sunday, since I was going to be in bed all day by myself, complete solitude. I decided to take that as a kind of an early birthday celebration. And I did a lot of journaling, and it was essentially, I decided to reflect on the last 40 years, or the first 40 years of my life, to really reflect and celebrate the 40 years I've experienced, to assess where am I at now and where am I headed? Where do I want to go? And I had some really profound realizations, and I framed them in my journal around the Miracle Life, because I thought that's the life that I've created for myself. It's the life I'm living, and it's the life I want to share with everybody, with all of you, the entire world, if I can, right? And so that's where, as I started doing that and then prepping for today's training, I went, wait a minute, I'm going to bring this to you today. So today's training is going to be divided into 2 parts. The first part is, as promised, I'm going to answer all of your questions. Well, I can't, no, so I take that back. Sorry. We had over 500 questions that have been submitted through the evaluation forms. I am not going to answer all of your questions because this would be a, I don't know, 20-hour call, and I'm guessing most of you don't have 20 hours to sit on the call right now. Neither do I. So we can't answer all the questions. However, I've spent, I don't know, 10 hours, 20 hours going through your questions and trying to organize them. And today I'm going to deliver what are the most universal questions. So I do, small apology if you asked a really specific question around like a really unique situation, which there were hundreds of those. Unfortunately, I can't answer every single one of the individual, unique, specific questions, but the objective today is to add value for every single one of you, and I believe that I will do that. I believe that I'll do that by taking all of the questions and organizing them into the most common and important themes, if you will. That's the way we're going to deliver the questions today. So the first half of the training today is going to be answering your questions in a way that really is more of a training than just a one-off question answering session, right? It's really, the questions are organized in a way where it's really going to be more of a training. The second part of the training today is the miracle life, right? Again, how to love who you are, or love, wait, hold on, I have it in writing. I don't know this yet by heart. Love yourself as you are, see yourself as you can be, and create the most extraordinary life you can imagine. That's like the working subtitle of the miracle life, right? I'm sure it'll change between now and whenever I write a book on it or something. But that's what it's about. Loving yourself as you are now, loving your life as it is now, seeing yourself as you can be at your best, better than you've ever been before, and then living in alignment with that vision for yourself and your life so that you can create the most extraordinary life that you can imagine. In fact, hold on, I got to take a note right there. And living in alignment with your highest potential so that you can create the most extraordinary life you can imagine. All right, that's the miracle life. So if you guys are ready, if that sounds good, if you're down for that today, give me some love in the chat. Say yes, or we're in, or yay, or something fun, right? Something exciting. Just it's always good when you're not speaking in front of a live audience where you can actually like a physical audience where you're on stage. All right, you guys are into it. Ryan's into the miracle life. Leslie is ready. Kathy says yes. Yay, yes. Sally says yes. Awesome. All right, cool. Awesome. We're all on the same page. Like I said, I'm vibrating. I hope you can tell. I feel like ever since Sunday, I feel like I just tapped into a higher level of consciousness. And like I said, things are going to get weird. I hope you guys are ready to get a little bit weird. I feel like I'm not the same person. I feel like who I was for the last 40 years, something inside me snapped in a positive way on Sunday. And I feel like there is a new, improved version of me. And what I'm realizing, like for me, my whole life is a test dummy, right? I feel like I'm a test dummy, if you will. Like I'm living proof that I went from, like Chip Frank said it well, right? Chip Frank's my chief miracle worker, our chief miracle worker here at Miracle Life Inc., if you will. It's not officially our company name, but Chip said, Hal, you were a C student and you created an A+ life. And he said, what's so empowering about that is you weren't born with not necessarily any special, talent or gifts. You weren't physically gifted or even mentally gifted necessarily, right? You didn't have the highest IQ. He said, you were a C student who developed yourself through the practices that we're teaching, right? The miracle morning, the miracle equation. I applied these things and went from being a C student and a mediocre, kid, if you will, to creating this extraordinary miracle life. And the beauty of it is I am no more special than anyone else on the planet, right? But I'm proof that if you do certain things that every single one of us has the opportunity to do, as many of you have figured out with the miracle morning and the miracle equation, whoa, if I do these things, my life gets better. I get better. Everything gets better. And, I'm telling you, you don't even know how good it can get. Like you're scratching the surface, and so am I. I feel like we're all scratching the surface on this thing that I'm just discovering, the miracle life and what this can be for all of us. All right, so let's dive in. What are we at time? Oh, we're only 8 minutes in. Nice. Wow, we're actually diving into the training pretty quickly. First, a couple. Well, actually, I'll get to that in a second. we're gonna do. I'll do just a very quick recap, like a one sentence recap for each week. Right? Module 1 was about deciding your first mission, getting clear of all the goals in your life. What's the single goal that will have the biggest impact on who you are as a person and on your quality of life, right? That's the focus of your first miracle mission. Module 2 is about discovering the power of your process, understanding that every mission, every result, every outcome, every goal, every dream is preceded by a process. And if you can clarify your process and commit to your process without being emotionally attached to your short-term results, if things don't go your way, go as planned, which they rarely ever do, right? But you stay committed to that process over an extended period of time, and you cannot fail. Your success is inevitable. The only variable is time. It might take you a year or 2 or 4 or 10 or whatever, but when you finally create that miracle life that you've been working so hard for so long, the timing is always perfect. Module 3 was about combining your practice for personal development, which for most of you is the Miracle Morning, combining your practice for personal development with your process for goal achievement, which is the Miracle Equation. And we talked about how to integrate your Miracle Equation into your Miracle Morning to harness the power of the Miracle Equation to make the Miracle Equation, miracle. Harness the power of the Miracle Morning to accelerate how effectively you transition into creating those tangible, measurable miracles with the Miracle Equation. In Module 4, we explored the neuroscience of unwavering faith, which many of you said was the most valuable training up until that point. Module 5 was all about maintaining miracles. It was about leveraging the power of accountability and consistency so that you could keep this momentum up for as long as it takes you to achieve everything you want in your life. And then finally, today, right, the sixth and final training, live training for the Miracle Equation. We're focusing on 2 things. The first half of the training, as promised, I'm going to answer the most universal questions so that and there were questions, by the way, about all the modules. It's like, well, I'm confused on my mission. So there's going to be quite many of you, if you're like, I'm stuck on this area or that area, hopefully we're going to answer those questions today. And then the second half of today's training will be about the miracle life, all about the miracle life. And for the final training today, by the way, I am aiming for 60 minutes, but I did allow up to 90 minutes in my schedule because I don't want us to feel rushed. If we get to 60 minutes and I feel like, there's still more to go, I wanted us to have space. That's part of my realization on Sunday that I had that I'm going to share today when I talk about the miracle life is doing everything in our lives never out of a feeling of obligation, never out of a feeling of pressure, but doing everything from a place of two aspects of, or 2 places: love and freedom. I want all of us to live our lives every day, every moment, even if we have a commitment that we're committed to, that we don't ever go into anything, go into work, even if you hate your job. It's a mindset shift. I'm giving you a little preview into the miracle life, but where you show up to everything, never from a place of obligation, always from a place of love for yourself, love for the people that you're interacting with, love for your life, love for the opportunities that are presenting themselves to you every day, love and freedom. So I run this training today for you, even though I'm obligated because I committed, right? I gave my word. I scheduled it. I emailed you guys. I said, we're doing it. So I could be viewing the training as, I'm stressed out. I got to deliver this training. All these thousands of people are counting on me to do this, right? But I decided on Sunday that I will never, ever, 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 never say never, but I'm saying I will never, never, ever show up to anything in my life from a place of anything other than love and freedom. Even if it's an obligation that I've committed to, I'm not going to show up to it with a feeling of obligation. I'm going to show up to everything. And I'd encourage you to consider this. You might even write this down if you haven't already, that from now on, show up to everything you do, every appointment, every commitment, every, going to work, time with your family, even things you don't want to do that you have to do because you committed to do it a long time ago. And now you got to show up, whatever it is. Decide to switch in your brain that from now on, I'm never showing up to anything because I have to. or out of obligation, but only out of love and out of freedom. So that's my invitation to you, my encouragement to you. All right, let's dive into the questions. This is the first part of today's training. The most universal questions. And again, we received over 500 questions. My head was exploding going through all of your questions. I was also very inspired going through all of your questions and a little overwhelmed going, how am I going to consolidate 500 questions into like 30 minutes of training, right? And so I'm about to do my best on that. First, a couple housekeeping questions. Number one was, there were really two questions that I saw a lot of, which is, how long is this training going to be available? How, like, is this going, is the membership portal going to, when the training ends today, is it going away? So this question is, the Miracle Equation portal going to be available forever so we can go back in and watch the replays when we need a refresher? The answer is yes. The Miracle Equation training, unless I'm missing some reason I would change my mind on this or do otherwise, the plan is that it will be available to you, right? Until further notice. I mean, arguably indefinitely. And the reason for that is, number one, the importance of repetition and refreshing and learning. And in fact, one of your assignments today is really going to be not adding anything new, but just revisiting the training you've already done. So I really encourage you to go back and watch these trainings, at least, maybe the ones where you're stuck or the ones that were really valuable, where you want to revisit them and relearn them and be reminded of the various trainings. So the plan is to keep the trainings up indefinitely for you. My only request is, out of integrity and trust, that you don't give away your username and password, because this is a training that my plan was originally that this would be something that would be for sale, that people would eventually be able to purchase this training that didn't get in on the bonus by buying the book, that you got the training for free. So being that it's a program that will be for sale on the internet at some point, I don't know when. So I ask that you just don't share your username and password, or publish them online or anything like that. So that's my only request. And another question I got a lot is, it was like something along the lines of, I'm really sad the training's going to be ending. Like, what's next? Well, I'll answer that at the end of the training today. There is something that is going to be next, potentially, that Chip Franks and I have been working on. And we have a waiting list for it now. So I'll mention that at the end, but we'll dive into the questions now. So the most common questions or themes. The first one was about mission, right? So module 1 was about deciding on your first mission. And here's a couple of questions, specific questions that we'll use to kind of talk about this topic. So number 1, Hal, I'm still confused on if my mission needs to be more measurable. I wrote, I am committed that I will be a great and well-compensated speaker should this be more measurable. Okay. So for many of you, your mission might be like, I want to be the best parent that I can be, or I want to become successful in my field, or right. So it might be kind of general. And so here's the idea. What I would encourage you to do is, it can start as general, and then it should become more specific over time. So when you're first starting out on a mission, you don't know what you don't know, right? We don't know what we don't know. And also we don't know what we don't know. It applies in a lot of ways. For example, I had a mission when I was 20. I think I might have mentioned, I don't know if this is our last training that I mentioned this on, but my mission was to be a $10,000 keynote speaker, right? That was a dream. And at that time, I had never been paid to speak once. I had given dozens of speeches for my company internally for free, but I had never been paid to speak. And my dream was to be a $10,000 keynote speaker. And so I went and met a gentleman named Roger Crawford, who I believe back then was earning $10,000 to speak. He was speaking, I think, 50 times a year at least. And don't quote me. This has been a long time ago, 15 years ago. 20 years ago, 18 years ago. But someone in town referred Roger to me, and I went and met Roger, and I said, Roger, my dream is to be a $10,000 keynote speaker. Like, that would be, I love speaking. I feel like I can really help people. And I feel like at $10,000 per speech, I could really earn an amazing living. And I asked him how I could do that. Well, fast forward 18 years. And let's see, how long did it take me, by the way, to be a $10,000 speaker? It took me, when did I get my first $10,000 speech? 2013. So it was almost 10 years before that dream became a reality. And in terms of my mission, so it was a specific result, right? I had a number around it. But I wasn't attached to that number. And the thing is, I started out as a $500 speaker, and then became a $1,000 speaker, and then became a $2,500 per speech speaker. Then I became a $4,000 per speech, right? So it wasn't like I went 0 to 60. I didn't go 0 to $10,000 overnight. So the point is, start with a mission that, there's not a wrong or a right way to do any of this. Remember that the purpose of a goal is not to hit the goal. And remember that a mission is simply a goal that you've prioritized as the single most important goal in your life at any given time. I'll say that again. Remember that the real purpose of a goal is not to hit the goal, right? The real purpose is to give you a target, something to move toward, something to aim toward, something that as you're working towards it, you are developing the qualities and the characteristics of a goal achiever or of a miracle maven. And as you develop those qualities and characteristics and you get better and better and better at achieving goals, you get more efficient, you get more effective. As you grow and improve, well, not only are you better at achieving goals, but typically your vision of what's possible expands. It gets bigger. So the example of that is it took me 8 years. Think about this. It took me 8 years, 9 years, almost 10 years to achieve that goal of being a $10,000 speaker, right? And then I had a mentor, and he said, Hal, once you've been paid $10,000, that's when you increase your fee to $12,000. And then once someone pays you $12,000, that's when you increase your fee to $15,000. And once someone pays you $15,000, I was like, whoa, that's interesting. He said, because you basically said you should always be growing and improving and stretching. And plus, you should be getting better at what you do. So you should be worth more because you're getting better over time, right? And then when I was at $15,000 as a speaker, a buddy of mine said, Hal, you should just go to $25,000. And like my heart sank into I'm like, no way. I'm terrified. I wouldn't have the courage to, if someone asked me what I would charge, I wouldn't have the courage to quote $25,000, right? And and then my very next speech, they asked what I charged, and I'm like, $25,000, and they said yes. And anyway, the point, please don't take that as, I'm not trying to, I hope you don't think I'm trying to brag or anything. The point is, right, that your mission doesn't have to be perfect, but the more specific it is, the more you have a target to focus on. And here's the advice I would give you. It's better to have a specific target so that you can change it or you can adjust it. But if you don't have a specific target, there's nothing to change or adjust. So you might set a mission, like remember my mission for the Miracle Morning, change 1 million lives one morning at a time. In other words, when I published the Miracle Morning, my goal was to sell 1 million copies my first year that the Miracle Morning was in publication. Remember, at the end of the year, I sold 10,000 copies, give or take. So I was 990,000 copies short of my mission. Or percentage-wise, I was 99.9% short of my goal of selling 1 million copies. So, but at least having that target, I was then able to reassess. Imagine if I had gone out and I said, my mission is to sell as many copies as I can and change as many copies, as many lives as I can. Well, at the end of the year, having sold 10,000 copies, I would have gone, well, I guess that's all right? I would have probably just adjusted from 10,000 the next year to maybe 15 or 20,000. But because I had this grandiose mission of changing 1 million lives, I had a target that I was committed to. The only variable was time. And so then I stepped back and went, well, obviously 1 year wasn't realistic. How long is realistic? I thought, well, I really have no idea. I thought maybe it's going to take me 30 years. You might remember that. I don't know why, but that number stuck in my head. Maybe 1 year wasn't realistic. Maybe it'll take me 30 years to reach 1 million people with the Miracle Morning. And it ended up taking me 6 years. The point is, having your mission clarified as specific as possible with the flexibility built in, knowing that, you know what, this is my mission. Think of it this way. It's always a rough draft, right? It's always a rough draft. Your mission, your goals, they're rough drafts. You commit to giving it everything you have, and only after you give it everything you have for a fixed period of time, such as a month or a 6 months or a year, then you get to step back, right? In the Miracle Equation book, one of the steps in the process is that after you set your mission and you maintain unwavering faith and you define your process and you go through all the steps, right? One of the final steps is that you've got to assess your progress and adjust accordingly. If you need to write that down, write that down. As you pursue your mission over an extended period of time, the thing to write down is you need to assess your progress and adjust accordingly. But again, you don't do that every day, because you can't. If you do it every day, you'll drive yourself crazy. You can't go, oh, today didn't work out the way that I wanted. Right? When I invented the Miracle Equation back when I was in sales, I had a lot of bad days, but that's the whole short-term results thing, right? Be committed to your process without being emotionally attached to your short-term results. You don't assess every day. Now, you can assess in a small way on like a weekly basis, like, hey, how'd this week go? Could I have done something differently? Normally what you're assessing is your effort, because normally you look at your week and you go, man, I slacked off a couple times. Like, I didn't really give it my all. And that's where you need to adjust, is usually in your commitment to the process. But it's usually not that you need to make a radical shift in your process. You need a long enough period of time of staying committed to your process. The longer, think of it this way. You need a long period of time to have enough data to analyze, right? If you only have, like, in one day, the averages aren't, that's not enough time for the averages to work out. You might have, because you could have a bad day, you could have a bad week, but if you're committed and you're consistently working over a long period of time, you'll rarely ever have a bad month. That's one thing that I learned when I was in sales, is that there were plenty of times in my career when I would have a bad day all the time. Every week I'd have a bad day or two. And then I'd have a bad week, and sometimes I'd have a bad, 2 or even 3 weeks strung together. But what I found is, as long as I was committed to my process, and I think this is true for you, it'll be true for you too. If you're committed to your process consistently consistently, you can have a bad day, you can have a bad week, sometimes, not often, but you'll even string together a bad 2 or 3 weeks where you're just not getting the results that you want. Things aren't panning out the way that you want to. However, I've found in my life that if you're committed consistently on a daily basis, at least 5 days a week, 4 or 5 days a week, to your process, you'll almost never have a bad month. And I never say never. I'm sure people have had bad months before, but the point is, you want to be committed over an extended period of time, and the longer you're committed, the more accurate your data is for you to analyze. When I say data, I don't mean to, overwhelm me with that word, right? I just mean that your results. You look at your results, you look at your progress. And for example, if you consistently were to put forth effort over an entire year, well, that gives you a really significant amount of data to analyze. And you go, okay, here was my process, right? Like for me, when I doubled my income from 2004 to 2005, I was able to analyze my process. I was able to go, okay, in 2004, I made an average of 20 calls a day for 5 days a week over 50 weeks. I thought, in order to double my income for the next year, I just need to go from making 20 calls a day to 40 calls a day. And so, but you can't do that over one day. You can't go, well, yesterday I made 20 calls and I didn't schedule any appointments. So I guess that means, what does that mean, right? You can't take a sample of data over a short period of time. You need an extended period of time. So anyway, I'm going too deep into that. One other question about mission was, is it okay to have multiple goals incorporated in my miracle mission and miracle mantra? Go back and listen to the training that we did on that, I would say. But here's the short answer to that, which is, can you have multiple goals incorporated into your miracle mission and your miracle mantra? Yes and no. Meaning, I'm always working on 8, 9, 10 goals, but I only have one mission. I'm very clear on what the most important mission is in my life at any given time. And keep in mind, your mission can change. It could change. Here's a couple ways to think about it. It could change based on when you complete it, right? So let's say you have a mission for the month. I'll give you some real life examples from my recent life, which is the Miracle Equation. When I was writing the Miracle Equation, that was my mission for about 6 months. It took me 6 months to write the Miracle Equation book. For 6 months, writing that book was my mission. It was the single most important goal in my world. right? Now, it didn't mean that I neglected my family. I still, I still had I still was with my family every day. I still had my foundational schedule ensured. And by the way, we're going to talk about foundational schedule today as well. But my foundational schedule ensured that I didn't neglect my other goals or my other priorities. Remember, the mission is simply, if it's your top priority, you just ensure that you focus on it first before anything else. And most of us don't do that. Most of us focus our energy on the path of least resistance. So we start checking emails, cleaning our house, making phone calls, just doing busy work to avoid the big monumental goals and dreams that we have and the tasks that would get us there, that if we don't, if they don't go the way we want, we're afraid we might fail at those tasks. So that's what your mission is about. It's not saying that you don't have all these other goals that are really important that you're dedicated to. It's simply saying that you're clear on your number one priority, and then all of your other goals fall in line afterwards. So every morning I wasn't allowed to go to the gym. I wasn't allowed to work on my other businesses. I wasn't allowed to do these other things until I executed my process that would ensure that my mission of writing the Miracle Equation would become a reality. And then once the book was done, my mission shifted to promoting that book, right? Launching that book. That was then my mission. I now, this fall, or we're actually starting here really in next month, my mission will be launching the Miracle Morning movie, the documentary. That will be the next professional mission that I have. So that will be the number one thing that I put in my schedule every day, defining my process. And by the way, this will also answer, well, we'll dive into the next topic here. So the second theme was around process, okay? And so here's all right, let me read this. How do you succeed in your mission or stay true to your mission when the process is completing your mission is complex and not necessarily proven? So here's the deal. I want to launch a movie. I don't know how to launch a movie. Follow? I've never done this before. I don't have a well-defined process yet. My process will start the way that almost all of our processes should start, which your process begins as a discovery process. It begins by utilizing your foundational schedule to schedule time to figure out what your process is going to entail for your mission. So my mission is to launch the Miracle Morning movie to the world and reach millions of people, right? Or the word is really distribute a movie, right? I'm going to figure out how to distribute the Miracle Morning documentary. I don't know how to do that. So my mission will start, and I've already started it a little bit. I've already, I've done some exploratory work. I've bought some books on the top. I've reached out to some people that are in distribution. I've already started the exploratory process. But the point is, so I've got a whole list of different things I've got to figure out here, but I don't have a concise process. I don't know exactly what I'm going to be doing next month when I dive into my mission of launching the Miracle Morning movie. So my process will begin as a discovery process. And so for any of you that are like, well, I don't, it's a new world. This mission I'm diving into is new for me. I don't know what the process is. Your process begins as a discovery process. And I said that in the book, right? I said that your process begins as figuring out what your process is going to be. Let's see. Looking at this other question. So here's the next question. Hal, I have a doozy of a question for you. I'm running more than one business. Welcome to the club, right? And my mission is to double my sales for the year for our primary business. When I go to my half hour of power, I'm not sure how to compile my list of what to do. Today, it would have probably taken at least 3 hours to do. I was going to do a half hour power for that first business and then a half hour power for the other business that I want to start and then one for another goal. Is that the right way to approach it? The answer is yes. And again, I would utilize the foundational schedule. So what I do in my schedule, when I have a bunch of new goals and missions and businesses and things that I'm working on, I just schedule multiple discovery processes. So for example, let's say I'm going to work on launching a new book and I'm going to work on, My computer's going to die. That's not good. Let's say I'm going to work on launching a new book. I'm going to work on launching the Miracle Morning Movie. I'm going to work on, developing this training, right? So the way that my foundational schedule would look is it might be 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Figure out my process for launching the Miracle Morning Movie. 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Figure out my process for or plan the next miracle equation training. 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. outline the next miracle book, right? On and on. So it's using time blocking and dedicating, and sometimes an hour is enough. Sometimes a half an hour is enough. Sometimes you might need 90 minutes. Sometimes you might need 3 hours. Now, a lot of research has been done saying that our brain cannot focus for longer than 90 minutes, or at least 90 minutes is the optimum amount of time before we at least take a break, go for a walk, meditate, switch tasks, something like that. So be cognizant of, if you have, let's say you thinking you're going to need 3 hours on something, schedule 90 minutes and then a break and then 90 minutes. Or if you're clear on your process, right? If you're clear and you go, well, no, I know exactly my process is. I've got to write this many words every 30 minutes, or I've got to make this many calls every 30 minutes, or I've got to exercise and do this many reps every 30 minutes, right? If you want to implement the half hour of power strategy that we talked about in module number 2, half hours of power, where you define your process, you figure out every 30 minutes what the process, what chunk of that process, what segment you can do in 30 minutes. You do it for 30 minutes as fast as you can, not sacrificing quality, by the way. That was one of the objections or concerns we got from people saying, Hal, you're telling us to do it as fast as we can, so what, we're not going to actually do it good or right? We're just going to speed through it? No. Do it as fast as you can without overthinking it. But doesn't mean you sacrifice quality. Like when I invented that half hour of power strategy, it was making phone calls to prospects when I was in sales with Cutco. It's not like I called people and was like, hey, John, how are you doing? This is, I didn't rush through the call. I had a normal call. I said, hey, John, how are you doing? Hi, yeah, this is Hal Elrod. So nice to meet you. So I was at your friend Betty's house and thought you could help me out with something. Yeah. I had a normal conversation. I had a quality interaction with that person. But as soon as I got off the phone with them, I didn't dilly-dally. I didn't check email. I didn't pick up my phone and surf. I picked up my referral notebook and I called the next person. And then I had a quality conversation. I'm glad I'm saying this because I never addressed this in that training. But some of you in your feedback form were like, Hal, are you saying that we sacrifice quality, that we rush through it? No. Take your time. Do what you do, with full presence and thoughtfulness, but don't dilly-dally in between tasks. Move on to the next one, right? That's what it means about doing it as fast as you possibly can. It's not rushing through the actual activity. It's just keeping focused on the activity and staying focused from one to the next and without getting distracted, right? That's what that means. All right. So that when it comes to your process, right, that is the way that I identify my process, and I utilize my foundational schedule to ensure that my process or processes for each of my, not just my mission, but each of my goals, right? Because by the way, everything we're talking about, it applies to all of your goals, right? It's not like this only applies to your mission and then the rest of your goals, you guys need to go take another goal training, right? Like, no, this is everything we're talking about applies to all of your goals. The idea of a mission is just that you're clear on, of all of your goals, what's the most important goal at any given time, so that it organizes your focus, your attention, and your schedule to support that goal. All right, number 3, foundational schedule. This was a big topic as well, and I love the way this question is framed because it's framed as both a statement that reaffirms the value of a foundational schedule, and then it asks the question. Here we go. The more I listen to you and read the book, it's becoming increasingly clear to me that the power of routine/schedule is one of the most important things. I completely understand that each person has a specific routine as per their specific needs. However, based on your study of your own successful life and the lives of so many successful people, would you please be able to share a routine, common things that you have found in the most successful people, in addition to morning miracle routine? I am sure this will help a lot of people. Great question. And I did post a foundational schedule. I think it's a year or 2 old, but it's pretty close to what I do now. It was my foundational schedule for a year or 2. I posted that in the Miracle Equation membership portal. So you can actually go download that. It's a download in session number. What session did we talk about foundational schedule? Is that 5? Yes, I believe that was 5. Yeah, it was 5. So the last module, module 5 in the membership portal, you can actually see my foundational schedule. But here's just a quick rundown, right? I start the day with personal development to put myself in a peak physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual state. Start the day with the miracle morning. Now, for me, then I transition into waking my children up and spending some time with my family, right? So that for me is part of my foundational schedule. And then as soon as my kids are off to school, the next thing I do is the number one, it's my mission time. It's immediately I dive into my process that is, I've defined, predetermined, will ensure that my mission is inevitable. That's the first thing so it goes personal development, family time, and then mission time. And then it goes into various goals, right? So time blocks for each of my goals. I take a 60 to 90 minute lunch break. I like to take a leisurely lunch. I like to watch TV while I eat lunch. It's one of my, I don't know why, but it's one of my favorite things to do. It allows me to just completely unplug from my work and just watch some entertaining TV that just brings me joy. It'll be just something funny or whatever it is, right? Then I usually have a couple appointments in the afternoon, like interviews or calls or podcasts. And then I spend time with my family in the evening. And then before I go to bed, I do the miracle evening, which is simply 15 to 30 minutes as I'm laying down to sleep, where I will usually journal my breakthroughs. Just I'll ask myself questions like what I'll basically celebrate. So I'll reflect, celebrate, and anticipate. That is the miracle evening. Reflect, celebrate, and anticipate. I reflect on the day. I'll journal on what was the highlight of my day. I'll celebrate that, which is simply an internal, like being really present and grateful for the fact that I got to live another day, and for whatever the highlight or highlights are that I'm reflecting on. Which more often than not, it's like yesterday, the highlight in my 5-minute journal. And where's my phone? I'll show you guys. Let me just. Here's a peek behind the curtain. I'll show you guys. You guys can see. All right. So my 5-minute journal yesterday, that is me playing a board game with my kids. That was the highlight of the day. This is me the day before going to the Aladdin movie. This is me on Sunday with that profound realization, realizing that God is within all of us, right? And today is not the appropriate time to explain that. This was my highlight of the day before, Saturday, which was breaking my eye open, going and getting stitches, and then coming home to my family, my wife or my daughter, these signs that are behind me. I walked through the door from the emergency room with my stitches, and my kids had these signs for me. The day before that, my highlight was we had 2 of our Quantum Leap Mastermind members come into town, and me and John Vroman spent 2 days with them paddleboarding, going out to lunch, going out to dinner. I had them over to my house. Oh, and by the way, that was one of the questions that I saw a handful of times in the surveys is, Hal, you've mentioned the Quantum Leap Mastermind. How do we find out more about that? Well, here you go. Go to QLM, as in Quantum Leap Mastermind, QLMmastermind.com. So there's 2 M's in the middle. QLMmastermind.com. And I'm not going to do a big promotion for this, but it's something. We only accept a small number of people. It is we spend 2 days in person with you a year at 2.5 day retreats. Plus we spend 3 days with you at the Best Year Ever Blueprint. Actually 4 days with the Best Year Ever Blueprint because you get an extra day. It's application only. But if you're interested, go to QLMmastermind.com. You can fill out an application there. There's no obligation. We will review the application, and if it is a good fit, we will reach out to you and interview you and all that stuff. So that's it. Because some of you did ask about that. I'm just writing myself a note to make sure I review any applications that come in. All right. So that is that. So anyway, so that's what I do at the end of the day is I celebrate, right? This is the other day I was interviewed by Ryan Moran at his house on his podcast. That is India Ari. Did you guys see that? India Ari, the famous singer, posted my quote at her concert in front of thousands of people. Like, That was mind-blowing to me. This is me on stage the day before. This is me with my grandma in Colorado, right? So I use the app. But if you're wondering, by the way, that is the app 5-Minute Journal, and it allows you to post one picture. And every day I try to capture a picture of a meaningful moment from that day. And at the end of the day, I celebrate that moment at a deep level. And as I fall asleep, I then anticipate the next day and I think, what's tomorrow going to be? How am I going to make tomorrow the best day of my life? And that's literally the question that I ask myself as I fall asleep every night is, how am I going to make tomorrow the best day of my life? All right. Foundational schedule. All right. So that's my foundational schedule. I have one other question about this. Actually, no, I already answered that question. All right. So another question that we got a lot of in some form or another was, how do I get myself to do what I'm supposed to do when I don't feel like it, when I don't feel motivated? We already covered that, so I'm not going to go in depth. I'm going to remind you of what we already covered. Number one, act your way into feeling. Actually, no. Number one, have a foundational schedule and then get in the habit of following it. See, if you wake up in the morning and you have a blank slate, right? Even if you have like work, but if you don't have your time scheduled, then you are now going to fall prey to human nature, which is to follow the path of least resistance. When you wake up and you got nothing in your schedule because you're an entrepreneur or whatever, or it's your day off, you are most likely to just bounce around from one easy thing to another easy thing to another easy thing, and you're going to fall prey to procrastination, procrastination is caused by our human nature to pursue the path of least resistance. And because anytime you have something that you need to do, well, if you need to do it, if it's valuable, it's never the path of least resistance. So what do? Human nature will cause you to procrastinate. So the first tip is you have to have your time scheduled. Have a foundational schedule. That is number one. Number two, act your way into feeling, which means if you don't feel like doing it, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Whatever your schedule says you're supposed to do, you just get up and you walk over and you do the thing that you wrote in your schedule that you were going to do. You act your way into feeling. If the schedule says go to the gym, but you're like, I don't feel like it, you literally go, doesn't matter if I feel like it, I committed. And that's where you leverage your integrity. I'm going to get up, I'm going to walk to the car, I'm going to grab my gym bag, I'm going to drive to the gym, even though I don't feel like it. And here's the thing. The more you do that, the more you will learn to feel like it. You will condition yourself to feel like it. Act your way, into feeling. And then number three, accountability. We talked about that on the last module. That was an in-depth training. If you didn't listen to module 5, go listen to it. But utilize accountability to keep you aware and keep you honest, meaning keep you aware where if you're not doing something, but you're not checking in with anybody on it, then you're not even aware often that you're not doing it, right? Because you're not really paying attention. But if you have to check in with somebody every week or every day or whatever, and they're asking you, hey, did you follow through with what you committed to? They're now increasing your level of awareness as to how you're actually behaving in your life. And awareness is always the first step, the first key to transformation. You have to be aware of what you're doing that's not working, what you're doing that's working, what changes you need to make, and having a person that is a source of accountability for you increases your awareness and it keeps you honest, right? It keeps you honest. And then the next topic was about integrity, which I want to value my integrity at the highest level, but excuses keep coming up. I also got, how do I deal with changing circumstances and new information while keeping my integrity? Let's say I wanted to do X until Wednesday, but then my child gets sick and I realize that no matter how hard I try, this is just not possible to do the thing I committed to doing. How can I keep my integrity in cases where the excuse is not a lame excuse, but a real reason? It's real simple. You do your best. That's it, right? Meaning if I commit to do something, but then I get horrifically sick, well, then I've got to take care of myself, and you have to be flexible, right? And that's where, when it comes to adhering to your integrity and living with impeccable integrity, there still has to be flexibility built in. Nothing is perfect, right? If your kid gets sick, go take care of your kid, and then get back to your integrity. And the foundational schedule, right, is kind of a manifestation. It's a physical, logistical form of integrity, where you create a schedule that reflects the life you want to create and the life you want to live now. That's your foundational schedule. And then you live with integrity around that schedule. But here's the deal. If you get sick, or even if you have to travel or you go on a vacation, well, you're not expected to keep the same schedule if you're sick or if you're traveling or if, right? However, when you come back to the real world, right? Meaning when you come back from vacation or when you're not sick anymore, you just dive right back into living with impeccable integrity. That's it. You come back to your foundational schedule. You come back to a foundation of living with integrity. So it's okay to be flexible. It's okay. Remember, we all have bad days, but don't let one bad day turn into two, right? Stay committed to the schedule you've created, because that's the point of that schedule. You create a foundational schedule, which, by the way, you can adjust it all the time. I'm creating a whole new foundational schedule now that I'm 40. I'm like, what do I want the next 40 years of my life to be? And this is exciting. I'm loving creating a foundational schedule. In fact, I'll tell you guys, here's my new foundational schedule. I already described a lot of it, but my work, normally I schedule appointments every afternoon, Monday through Friday. And I have 2 appointments in my online scheduler in the afternoon at 1:15 and 2:15 normally, right? And it's Monday through Friday. And Chip Franks was over at my house a couple weeks ago. We were scheduling, and he goes, "Hal, why don't you just, instead of having your calls spread out throughout the week and your appointments where you're tied every afternoon, you have to do those calls." He said, "Why don't you just put them all on Wednesdays and just work like Wednesday morning till Wednesday, like all day?" And then you could have Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday with no time commitments to other people. And you can just work from a place of freedom and creativity and do whatever you want. You could work on a book all day. You could work on a training all day. You could take the day off and go play with your kids. You could do whatever you want. So that is my new foundational schedule. It still has the Miracle Morning. It basically has all the pieces that I explained earlier when I was answering the question, right? But in terms of my time commitments to other people for work, for business, instead of them being Monday through Friday, they're now all on Wednesday. And it won't be perfect. I'll still occasionally have to schedule a call on Monday and Tuesday and Thursday and Friday. But for the most part, my foundational schedule now, instead of it being time commitments where other people, right, I'm having to talk to other people every afternoon, it's now only 1 day a week. So I don't know, for some of you that may have no value. For some of you, hopefully it is valuable. But it just shows you that we can create anything that we want for our life. And we get trapped in our routines and we think that the way it is the way it's always been and the way it's probably always going to be. No, you can create the miracle life. And that's what we are about to dive into. But we have one more question to answer. And that is, how do I keep momentum after this training? That was probably one of the biggest topics. How do I keep going? How do I keep momentum? How do we keep living this training? It's been great. It's motivating me, but how do I keep with it? Here you go. 4 things. Number 1, revisit the training as many times as you need. And as I mentioned, you're going to get access to the portal. You can keep revisiting these trainings. And the beauty of it is you can fast forward, right? So I know some of the earlier trainings, there was some of the comments were like, "Hal, you're taking too long to dive into the training. You're whatever it was." Well, great. You can fast forward exactly to the part where I dive in, right? So you can go back and access these trainings, listen to the parts that serve you, and listen over and over. How many times should you watch these trainings? As many times as you need to master the material. How many times does an NBA player take a free throw shot? Thousands and thousands and thousands. For how long? Decades. For their entire career. They keep practicing. They keep learning. They keep getting better. So keep revisiting the training. That is number 1. Number 2, utilize your affirmations. Your affirmations are what continue to program your mind, your subconscious mind, with the beliefs and the mindset that you need, while directing your conscious mind to stay committed to the behaviors that will keep you on track for creating your miracle life. Number 3, utilize your foundational schedule. Again, that is what you need to do each and every day to live your miracle life. So utilize that foundational schedule. And number 4, not rocket science. We just talked about it. Have some accountability in your life. Have at least one person that you are sharing your commitments with, so that you have someone other than just you to hold you accountable. And if you need to find someone, go into the Miracle Equation Miracle Maven Facebook group, right? And utilize each other as accountability partners. All right, let's dive into the training. And we are at 52 minutes. So I'm glad I scheduled an extra half an hour because we are going to probably use some, if not all of it. All right, I hope that was valuable for you. Now we're going to talk about your miracle life. And this is the first time I have ever spoken on this. This is the first time, I mean, other than like mentioning it, but I've never talked about it. So I'm excited for this. I'm like giddy about this because this is what I'm living right now. And I want to preface it by telling you where this concept came from. And I might have mentioned this in the last few weeks. I'm not sure. But Chip Franks, if you don't know who Chip Franks is, many of you probably know who Chip is, but I brought Chip onto my team in January. I was in December, I was looking for who I need a person, I need a human being, a spiritual being, if you will, that is heart-centered, that is enlightened, that has all the values that I believe in terms of integrity and honesty and selflessness and service. Someone who understands the miracle morning and lives the miracle morning, that understands my work. Like I was looking for, it was a pretty tall order of the type of person that I was looking for. And I need somebody who's freaking brilliant and self-motivated and a visionary and a hard worker. Like literally, I basically, and not to, I don't want this to sound wrong, but I needed another version of me, right? Like I was literally going, for me to grow the miracle morning, the miracle movement, the impact, to elevate the consciousness of humanity, I need another me. Like I'm maxed out on all my capacity. Like I'm working a lot and I need another me to help me drive this mission forward and go from changing 1 million lives one morning at a time to changing 1 billion lives with a B, 1 billion lives. And that is the mission that we're on now, is to impact, to empower 1 billion people to love themselves as they are, see themselves as they can be, and to create the most extraordinary life that they can imagine. That is the working mission right now. I'll say it one more time because that's what the training we're diving into now is all about. The mission now, and it's always evolving. I don't ever put anything in stone and say this is it. It can always evolve. But right now, it is to empower 1 billion people to love themselves, to love yourself as you are, to see yourself as you can be, and to create the most extraordinary life you can imagine. That is the miracle life mission, if you will. And this was Chip Franks' vision when Chip said, Hal, the miracle morning is what you need to be, the person that you need to be, so that you can do what you need to do, which is the miracle equation. The miracle morning is the be, the miracle equation is the do. And he said, ultimately, we all want to have a great life, and that is the miracle life. Now, there are 2 parts to the miracle life, and I came up with this morning, right? So this is evolving, but I think that hopefully you'll appreciate this perspective. So consider this. And if you're taking notes, I hope you're taking notes because you're going to forget all this stuff. So remember or write it down. Miracle Life 1.0, or TML for short, the miracle life, right? TMM is the miracle morning. TME is the miracle equation. TML is the miracle life. So in my notes here, I have the TML 1.0, and there's TML 2.0. TML 1.0 is this: the life you are living now. The life you are living now is the miracle life 1.0. But seeing your life and experiencing your life in an entirely new way. In other words, you may remember the opening line from the Miracle Morning book, and I'll paraphrase it, I'm going off memory, but it was something along the lines of, why is it that when a baby is born, we often refer to that child as the miracle of life, but then we go on to accept mediocrity for our own lives? When did you and I lose sight of the miracle that we are already living? So consider that you already have everything that you need within you, not only to achieve everything that you want in the future, but to be the happiest person that you could ever be in your entire life. Not that you can't learn and grow to even be happier. But happiness is not outside of you. Peace of mind is not outside of you. It's not waiting in a promotion or more money or a significant other. None of that. Miracle Life 1.0 is realizing that your life is already perfect as it is. And for those of you that are pissed off when I say that and going, Hal, how dare you say that? My life is falling apart right now. I've lost my job and I lost a loved one and this and that. I don't mean to offend, but I'm just telling you the perspective that I come from. When I was diagnosed with cancer, the day I was diagnosed with cancer and given a 30% chance of living, I felt that my life was perfect. So receive that for a second, right? The day I was told I had a 70% chance of dying, I felt like my life was perfect. Perfection is a perspective. Your life, in the same way that Henry Ford said that, you're as good or as bad as you think you are, right? Life are as good or as bad as you think it is. Your life is as perfect or as imperfect as you think it is. Go talk to the billionaire or the millionaire that's depressed and overweight and sad and divorced and angry and searching for meaning, and ask them from the outside. They got a house on the hill and a Ferrari and ask them if their life is perfect. Life is as perfect as you think it is. In fact, I'll give you guys a quick little bonus resource. There's an article written by Michael Ellsberg. This is worth writing down. Google, what does it mean that my life is perfect? Or what does it mean that your life is perfect? In fact, hold on, I'll find it real quick because it's one of my favorite articles. What does it mean that what does it mean that your life is perfect? It's by Michael Ellsberg. It's his manifesto. And it's basically about exactly what we're talking about right now. The idea that perfection is a perspective. And in life, we all have 2 pages to focus on. One that lists all the things that we have to feel bad about. All of our faults, our failures, our fears, our insecurities, our losses, everything on the you call it the negative page. And then on the other hand, in life, we have the positive page. Everything we have to feel good about, be grateful for, be excited about. And the quality of your life, most people think it has to do with which page is longer or which, it's all about focus, right? If you focus on the negative, you feel negative. Focus on the bad, you feel bad. You focus on the good, you feel good. Your life is always perfect. It's a perspective because all the bad is there to teach you things. It's there for you to learn from and to grow from, even if it's painful. And the positive is what life is about. The joy of living life in the moment. Being grateful for what you have, accepting of what you don't. That's the perfection of life. So the Miracle Equation 1.0 is about the life you're living now. Nothing has to change outside of you for you to truly access the miracle life. But it might have to change inside of you. Your perspective might have to change. You might have to focus more. You might have to accept the things you can't change and focus more on the things that make you feel good. That your miracle life is over here. Actually, it's both, right? But it's not over here. The miracle life isn't about dwelling on the negative, feeling bad about the negative, feeling sorry for yourself. That's not the miracle life. The miracle life is going, yeah, all these crappy things have happened to me or are happening right now. And I'm going to change the things that I can change on this page to move them over to the positive page. But the things I can't change, I'm going to accept them fully and give myself the gift of inner peace. Sorry, I'm yelling. I'm getting excited. I'm going to give myself the gift of inner peace. Give yourself the gift of inner peace by accepting things that you can't change. That's part of the miracle life. It's not denying the negative or denying the pain. It's accepting and being at peace with the pain so that it's not so painful. And then it's living most of your life over here, focusing on the things that bring you joy, that make you feel good, that make you feel happy, that make you feel fulfilled, that give you meaning. That's the miracle life. And it's available to you right now. It's available to you right now. It's always been available to you. You have everything inside of you to be the happiest you've ever been. You just have to be present to all that is inside of you that makes you feel happy. That's the Miracle Life 1.0. And the Miracle Life 2.0 is the miracle life as you envision it. It is the most extraordinary life that you can imagine. And both Miracle Life 1.0 and Miracle Life 2.0 are both necessary. And by the time I write the book, I might have a different way of framing or explaining these, right? I don't know. But as of now, right, to truly live the miracle life, it's about loving the life that you have while you create the life of your dreams. And if you look, I don't know if you can see up there, my very first book, that's the subtitle, Taking Life Head On, How to Love the Life You Have While You Create the Life of Your Dreams. So apparently, even when I wrote that book, 13 years ago, I had an inkling into the miracle life. It was about loving the life you have, even though it's not perfect. Loving the life you have means loving yourself first and foremost, giving yourself grace, loving yourself as you are, despite your faults and imperfections and flaws and failures, and right? Don't beat yourself up. Be gentle with yourself. Love yourself like you would love your child, right? If you're a parent, you can get this. And if you're not a parent, you still can get this, right? You love your child unconditionally. When your child makes mistakes, you don't condemn them. You don't hate them. You don't beat them up. You don't tell them they're worthless, or I hope you don't, right? But we do that to ourselves. We beat ourselves up. We tell ourselves are worthless. We're not good enough. Treat yourself with the same love and compassion as you would a child, knowing that that child is still learning and growing and evolving, and keep encouraging that child to do the best, and know that you are still learning and growing and evolving, and help yourself, love yourself, encourage yourself, be compassionate with yourself to keep doing your best. And then create the most extraordinary life you can imagine. Don't just settle and go, yeah, I'm going to love myself and I'm going to settle here. No, the one thing we all have in common as human beings is we have unlimited potential. And it is your responsibility, I believe, to fulfill your potential. That's my own opinion. I believe we have a responsibility not only to ourselves, right, not to waste the gifts that we've been given, but to fully utilize those gifts. And also we have responsibility to the people that we love and the people that we lead, which are often the same people. In fact, I hope you love all those that you lead, right? But we have responsibility to those that we love and those that we lead to live to our full potential, because only then can we truly give them the gift of showing them what it looks like, what it feels like, what it is like to live to our full potential, so that we can bring them up. We can inspire them, empower them, lead them, teach them, lead them by example to live to their full potential. You know, I feel for me, I'm always doing that for my kids. And I had a talk with my daughter this morning about I'm going to keep having the conversation about the 40 years. I said, Sophie, I was reviewing my goals that I wrote when I was 30, and I have achieved almost every single goal that I set 10 years ago. I said, and I'm going to, and I haven't walked her through them yet. I didn't have my computer in front of me, but I said, I want to walk you through these, and I'm going to explain to you what I thought when I set these goals, like how I didn't really know if I could do it. I didn't know if I could. I didn't know how to do most of the goals. Most of the goals were so far beyond what I imagined. And these were goals in terms of my lifestyle and my health and my income and my family. I told her, I said, one of my biggest goals was to marry the woman of my dreams and to have 2 children who were the greatest children, who I love and I got to spend time with. And you guys are like my greatest miracles, So anyway, but the point is, if I hadn't lived to my full potential, I couldn't have that conversation with my daughter. I couldn't show her. I'm going to show my daughter how to create the most extraordinary life that she can imagine. And I'm going to show that to my son. And I show it to them first, just they see me do it. But second, I'm actually going to break it down like I'm doing for you, right? And teaching them how to do it. But I couldn't do that. I couldn't give them that gift if I didn't choose it for myself. So I believe the greatest gift you can give to the people that you love is to live to your full potential. And that's what the Miracle Life 2.0 is all about. And I'm going to break these down right now. And then we'll wrap up today's training, and I'll tell you what's next. Miracle Life 1.0. Here's the way I would define it in a simple form. It's love plus freedom. So write that down. Miracle Life 1.0 equals love plus freedom. And here's what I mean by that. I already kind of explained it. So, right, it's loving everything about your life. And when I say loving it, you go, well, how would I love the parts that are painful? Same way that I loved cancer. I loved it because I knew it was a gift to teach me something. Think about this. Usually the experiences in your life that you grow from the most are the ones that are the most difficult, the most painful. While you're enduring it, it feels like hell. And then afterwards you look back and you're like, wow, I made it. I freaking made it, right? I made it. I did it. I overcame that. And now I grew. I am better than I ever was before because I had to endure that pain, and I did it. I didn't cower. I didn't give up. I almost did. You might have been tempted. You might have been scared. But our greatest adversity provides our greatest advantages. So that's how you love the pain. That's how you love the challenges in your life. And by loving the challenges, you give yourself freedom from the pain that the challenges might create, at least the unnecessary pain. Some of the pain is necessary. It's valuable. When I had cancer, it wasn't pain-free. Hell no, it was the most painful time in my life. But I had freedom from the psychological pain. Even though I had physical pain, I had freedom from the emotional pain because I loved the pain. I'll give you an example. They were very recent. The other day, you saw John Broman headbutted me, right? I opened the call by showing you how my eye got split open. Well, listen to this. As I'm walking into the house and I'm trying to catch the blood, and blood is dripping all over my body, down my face, on my floor. I'm trying to catch the blood so I don't stain the floor. And my kids and my wife, everyone's like, oh, Hal, oh my gosh. And John Broman's like, oh, buddy, I'm so sorry. I'm smiling. You might see, if you saw the pictures you can go to my social media, Instagram, Facebook, you'll see the pictures. I'm smiling as I'm holding the blood that's dripping. And instantly, so did I have physical pain? Yes. Did I have psychological pain? Zero. None. Why? Because I accept all things I can't change. And I actually was smiling, and John's going, Hal, I'm so sorry. I said, buddy, no, this is great. I said, I'm a big UFC fan. If you don't know that, I'm a fan of UFC, mixed martial arts, right? Fighting, if you will, right? I'm not a violent person, so that's a whole other story of why I like fighting, but mixed martial arts. But often in a fight, they will have that happen where they'll get like headbutted and they'll get a cut and it's dripping down their eye, and they still have to fight each other, right? They're still fighting while they're like trying to wipe blood out of their eye. So I said this to John. I said, John, this is great. I'm a huge fan of the UFC, and I often see in the fights where they get cut above their eye and they still have to fight. I said, this actually helps me to empathize and appreciate what they go through. And I go, luckily, you're not punching me in the face right now. So this is really great, right? But the point, so that's exactly what happened. The point is, just because there's physical pain doesn't mean there has to be psychological pain. And how do you free yourself from that pain? It's through the power of acceptance. And you accept all things you can't change. And a higher level of acceptance is to actually love the challenges, the adversity in your life, because they are going to give you an opportunity to grow. They are a gift. So through love, we find freedom. So love the life you have while you create the life of your dreams. Don't think you have to wait for the latter to do the former. And then the Miracle Life 2.0, here's the formula that I wrote down this morning. It's creation plus contribution equals fulfillment. Creation plus contribution equals fulfillment. What do I mean by that? Well, when I talk about creation, I'm talking about creating the best version of yourself and creating the best life you can imagine. So there's two parts to creation. There's creating your internal world, which is what you do through the be. Remember, be, do, have. Be is about becoming the person that you need to be through daily personal development, aka the miracle morning. So it's creation. You're creating a new version of yourself every day. Think about it. When you read something, or on this training, when you learn something that you've never learned before, something you didn't know before, you've created a new version of yourself. Think about how profound that is. Because you literally, you open up a book, right? This happens to be one of my books, right? And you read a sentence. You've now created a new version of yourself. Now, that's not enough in and of itself to create the miracle life. Now, that's enough to create the Miracle Life 1.0 because that's internal. And the Miracle Life 1.0, in fact, I'm going to write that in my notes. I just realized a distinction around the Miracle Life 1.0 is internal, and the Miracle Life 2.0 is external. Guys, I'm learning as I do this with you. All right, we're all learning together. Miracle Life 1.0 is internal, right? That's about you changing your perspective to truly be happy and grateful and really embrace that your life is beautiful as it is now. You know, Viktor Frankl, who wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning, he had this realization when he was in a Nazi concentration camp, thinking he was going to die, watching his friends be killed while he was being starved. He decided, oh, I can choose to be the happiest and the most grateful I've ever been. I don't know if he used those exact words, but that's basically what he said. His words were, the last of man's freedoms is to choose one's own attitude in any given set of circumstances. That's what Viktor Frankl said. I think that's almost exactly the quote. The last of man's freedoms is to choose one's own attitude in any given set of circumstances. That's the Miracle Life 1.0. It's internal. It's about you right now realizing that stop waiting for something outside of yourself to be the happiest you've ever been. Enjoy every moment of your life, even if it's challenging, even if it's painful. You have the choice to be the happiest, the most grateful, the most fulfilled you've ever been while you are going through your challenges and while you're building to a better life. So the miracle equation, Tiffany's calling. Doesn't she know I'm on a training still? The miracle equation is the do piece, right? And that is about the creation of your outer world. That's everything we've talked about. That's defining your mission, defining your process, committing to that process over an extended period of time. It's everything we've talked about in this training is about the do, right? How do you create the most extraordinary life that you can imagine? And then ultimately, the last piece, so creation plus contribution equals fulfillment. Well, once you create, or not once, as you learn and grow and create a better version of yourself, share it with the people around you. Share it with those you love. Share it with those you lead. As you learn, as you grow, share it with other people, and that's where you find fulfillment, right? There's a lot. I think Martin Luther King said, we can all be great because we can all serve. And the key, and I know I'm butchering his quote, but it's something along the lines of, I know we can be great because we can all serve. Chip Franks, if you're on the training, write it you always say this quote. You know the quote well, I'm sure. Write it in the comments. Oh, there we go. Oh, and Chip, you're so good. Chip wrote, everything can be taken from man, but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. Viktor Frankl. Chip, you're so good. And through love, we find freedom, says Stephanie. All right, I'm not going to get in the comments because I'll get sucked in. But the final piece is contribution. It's be, do, have, share. That's what I would say, right? Is first, you need to develop yourself to become the person. And while you're doing that, right, also be doing the things, the miracle equation, that enable you to create the life you've always dreamt of. And then as you're creating that, you're having the life. You don't have to wait to have the miracle life. You get it now, the day you decide to realize that the life you're living is a miracle. It's already a miracle. You already have everything you need to be the happiest you've ever been, the most content you've ever been. It's not outside of you. It's right here. You already have it. It's a shift in your mindset to wake up and never do anything out of obligation, but do everything out of a sense of love and freedom, that you have the freedom to do whatever you want. And if you committed to something and now you feel obligated, realize that you have the freedom to follow through with that commitment. The commitment didn't change. The appointment didn't change. Your work didn't change. The schedule didn't change. But you radically shifted your mindset, and it changes your entire life. It changes your entire life. That is the Miracle Life 1.0. And then apply the training that we've been doing for the Miracle Life 2.0, creating the most extraordinary life you can imagine. And right now, I'm going to wrap this up with a few assignments and then what's next. So, wow, most of you are still on the training. And if you're watching the recording, hang tight. We got about 5 more minutes before we wrap up, maybe 10 at the most. Here's what I want to say. I said this already, but I want to say it one more time. Know that you already have everything that you need to live your miracle life. You already have everything you need to not only be the happiest you've ever been, but also everything you need to learn what you need to learn and to do what you need to do to create the most extraordinary life you can imagine. Like, just know that. What I'm trying to do is instill a sense of self-esteem, self-worth, self-reliance. You don't need anybody else. You don't need but You just need yourself and your journey that you're on. Whatever you need to learn, it's available to you, right? It's a Google search away. It's an Amazon book away. It's a training away, right? Everything you need to learn, it's all available to you. And so here is your assignments for the final week of training. The best part of the assignments is nothing new, only review. Because again, you have everything that you need already inside of you and available to you. So I'm not going to give you a new assignment. There's nothing to go do. You've already done it all. And if you haven't done it, go review it and then do it. You understand? What I'm saying is, if you apply everything we've talked about in this training, that is a complete plan for you to not only apply the miracle equation, but to live the miracle life, which is the next step, right? The miracle morning and the miracle equation are simply your tools and your strategies to create and live the miracle life. So you already have everything that you need. Stop looking for new things. Go back and revisit this training. It is a comprehensive plan for you to create your miracle life. And I will say this, here's a little bonus resource. If you want little tidbits of my wisdom, if you can call it wisdom, go to halelrod.com/quotes. Almost everything that I teach, you can go get sound bites. There's like 100 and something quotes of all my quotes. And my quotes are always, I try to encapsulate an entire concept or idea in the form of like, one quote, like a sentence or a paragraph. So if you don't know about that resource, go to halelrod.com/quotes. That's a cool little resource for you to get, daily nuggets. You might put those in your journal or whatever to inspire you. And last but not least, what is next? And actually, I didn't even know I was going to announce this until Chip texted me this morning. He said, Hal, would you be up for announcing the thing we've been talking about? And I said, sure. And the thing we've been talking about is the Miracle Life Mentorship. So I've been thinking about this for years because I've gotten a lot of requests for it. Chip Franks is like pushing hard, like, Hal, people deserve this. They want this. They need this. And basically it is we've been brainstorming about launching a new monthly low cost like a mentorship program. And the name that we've got tentatively is the Miracle Life Mentorship. And when I say low cost, none of this is totally figured out. It's probably going to be like, I don't know, $29 a month or something. Like, it's not going to be the program I ran for years, which was called Best Year Ever Coaching. That was a $97 a month program. And I ran that for 5 years. And we had people that were on it for 5 years. So they're paying $1,200 a year. I want this program, I told Chip, and we agreed, I want this to be low cost, where virtually anyone could afford it, like $1 a day. And so it's going to be a monthly membership program where, and again, we're still brainstorming, so I don't have details for you. However, this is what Chip did this morning. He said, Hal, if I set up a waiting list where people can go, and if they're interested, they just really quickly put in their name and email to be on a waiting list. Can I do that? And I said, yes, that'd be amazing. So let me see. It is, Chip texted to me, themiraclelife.com/mentorship, right? Chip, put that in the comments and make sure I got it right. I believe it is themiraclelife.com/mentorship. Again, this is not that you can't sign up for anything. There's no pricing. There's no details on the program. All this is if you enjoyed this training and you might want to do something like this where for a really low cost, we could keep this going, keep these conversations going indefinitely, right? For the next 10 years. I have no idea how long. If you're interested, go to themiraclelife.com/mentorship. That's it. That's all I've got for you. And that just puts you on the waiting list. And by the way, you're literally right now, this is the first time I'm ever announcing this because there was nothing to announce until this morning and Chip emailed me. Yeah. Oh, Mike says this is the best wrap of any training I've ever been a part of. And I've been on a lot of trainings. Mike, that is huge. That means a lot. If anybody, Nancy said, I signed up for the waiting list. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, Miracle Mavens, I love you. I appreciate you. I hope you I mean that with all of my heart. It is truly an honor my birthday's tomorrow, but really the celebration began on Sunday. And this is a big part of it. I'm grateful that this is part of my birthday right now, being with you. Thank you for your valuable time, your energy, your attention. You are extraordinary. You are a freaking miracle. You were born a miracle, and you might have lost sight of it, but I hope you're getting that back. that you have everything inside of you to create everything you've ever wanted for your life, and you owe it to yourself, and you owe it to those you love and those you lead to stay committed to this process, to the ongoing personal development of the Miracle Morning and the ongoing goal achievement using the miracle equation to create your miracle life. I love you. I appreciate you. I will be checking into the Facebook group regularly, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Take care, everybody.